Hey guys, this is John from Slots, Iowa. I'm not going to show my face this morning because I haven't had a shower yet. Don't look so great, but I thought I'd do just a quick informational or educational video on how parts of a slot machine work. And so this is the coin hopper. Now, modern slot machines don't have coin hoppers because they use cash money, dollar bills, $100 bills, whatever, and credit. And so, but this is from an IGTS Plus. It's from a triple double diamond machine. And back in the day when this was made, back in '94, you put coins in the machine. And for those of you old enough, you remember going to Vegas or going to if there was a local casino, and having buckets of coin, whether they're nickels, pennies, quarters. If you're doing quarters, you were high rolling, and how your hands would get filthy, dirty, and then the casinos would hand out moist towelettes to clean your hands. And so anyway, this is how the coins were handled. And so I've had a little bit of a problem with this hopper, so I thought I'd take it apart and show you what it looks like. And I'm sure there's some issues inside of it, and that's why it's not working the best. But if you look kind of down here, that's the dirt that's come out of it so far. But so there's four screws that hold this hopper piece on, the black hopper piece, and so we'll take those off. You just unscrew those, and there's another piece in here that I want to show you that's kind of interesting. I didn't know what it was for until I did some research. So I'll bring this camera over. But if you see that screw, it's got a nylon nut on it and a screw, and then on the back side it has a wire that goes to it. I've always wondered, what the heck is that? Well, I did a little bit of looking. So when they were in the casino, they would set that at a certain level, and when that hopper would fill up with quarters or nickels or whatever, and get up to the level of that screw, then it would start dumping quarters out. And so if you've ever seen or ever looked at a stand for a slot machine, it sits on top, and then there's a square or a rectangular hole underneath the slot machine. It's like, what's that for? Well, what that is once this filled up, so it didn't overfill, it would start dumping those quarters out, and it would go through that rectangular square hole into a bucket underneath. And that's how they prevented the hopper from overfilling, because space, it gets pretty heavy when you got a bunch of quarters or nickels in there. And so that's how they prevented that, prevented jamming and all that from happening, because once it reaches a certain level, it gets above the flywheel, which is inside here, and you'll get to see that once I take this hopper off. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Had no idea what that thing was for. I thought, well, what's that? Weird nylon nut and bolt doing in there with a wire attached. Well, that's what it is. And so we're going to take that off, get that nylon nut off of there, and get this off, because you can't take the hopper off, or the bucket, I guess I would call it, or hopper, whatever, until we get that off. So there's four, like I said, there's four of these screws. So you have to have a shorter screwdriver to get this one on the back side off. You have to go through the hopper, or you can have a really long one and go through the two holes. And I've got one out in the garage, but I didn't bring that down. So we'll get this bolt out of here. I had to tell you guys, this stuff is filthy. I mean, it sat in a casino for 25 years, where everybody's smoking, and there's dirt and dust, and the coins are dirty. And so these parts in these machines are filthy. And I've especially heard Gamble Safe talk about it. Mark talks about it a lot. And where you get into these machines, because they resell them, they're like, man, these things are filthy. We have to go in and clean them. They use a lot of denatured alcohol and other things to get these machines clean. Because let's face it, when they're in a casino, all they care about is that it's working. They don't care if it's clean, because you're not inside the machine. Okay, and so they're not cleaning them. They're just making them work. And so we're going to take this piece off now. On the back side of this piece, get this off, there's a spring that's on here that I have to take off, and that will release the hopper. All right, so I got the spring off. So that's what it looks like inside, just a plastic piece. Okay, so if you look at this, I don't know what the technical name for it is, flywheel, but this is the knife. And so the knife, that's what I need to really work on. The knife is what, as the quarters or nickels or whatever come around on this flywheel, they come up here and then they come across the top of the knife, and then they're ejected out here and they go down this slot, and they either go into the underneath if it's overfilled, or they go into the tray. Show you this. So the tray that sits underneath the machine, and that's where all the quarters and everything go. So if you get paid out, that's where they go. Okay. And again, if you're newer to gambling, you have no idea what I'm talking about because you don't see any of these anymore. But this was what was prevalent, back 30 years ago. This is exactly what was used. I'm starting to lose my light, so I'm going to get another one on here. So flywheel, I'm not sure that's the exact name for it. So I'm going to take this knife off. I want to show you what's behind this flywheel, because and these have to be specific to the denominator or the coin that you're using. So what happens sometimes with these nylon knives is they start to get worn, and this one doesn't look too bad, so I'm going to reuse it. But if they get worn down here and they're not sharp anymore, then they won't eject the coins, and it starts to jam. All right, so this piece up here, I'm not sure what the technical name for it is, but it has to contact the flywheel. And if it doesn't, then there's problems. And I think it's maybe to maintain the coins on the wheel itself. I'm not sure, but again, I'm not a tech. I'm learning all this stuff on the go. I watch YouTube videos, and kind of fascinating to me. But I wanted to show you one thing when I take this off. I'm going to take this wheel off. And this is a different design wheel than other ones I've seen. The other ones have a nylon, almost like a 3-star on it. This one does not. It has these points, which I've never seen. But we'll take this off, and I want to show you what's back behind here. And I even made mention of this. I kind of commented to Gamble Safe when they were doing one of their lives. They didn't comment on it. My question must not have got in, but or my comment, I guess. It's not a question. When you get back behind this, it's kind of interesting. Okay, so there's what that looks like. So let's see. I got to get this off. There's another plate here that has to come off. A lot of moving parts. And this is an electronic sensor that senses, I think, when the coins are correct or not correct going through there. And that's when it shuts down. You get a 3100 code. All right, so we're going to take this thing off. Okay. See all that stuff down there? Now you think, in fact, I'm going to take a picture of it because it's so bizarre. So you would think that maybe a mouse got into wherever it was at, right? Well, let me show you. If I can show this to you up a little closer. Okay, look at that. What do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's the paper from the coin rolls. You remember the old coin rolls? You'd have, I don't know, $30 in quarters or whatever it is in a coin roll, and the text would come out. It would break those open, drop them in the hopper. Well, if any of the paper went in there, it just got caught behind the wheel. So remember I talked about how filthy they are? Look at that. In fact, I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit if I can. Yeah, maybe I'll just bring it down here. See how filthy that is? Unbelievable. You know what I mean? I mean, there's even, looks like there's some plastic pieces in there too. So over 20 or 25 years or whatever it is, it was in the casino being played. That stuff's been accumulating underneath there for a long time. So dirty, filthy, right? So we'll get that stuff off. Look at that. Yuck. And there's all kinds of, I don't even know what this stuff is. So, but that's what a hopper looks like. So I'm not going to bore you with putting it back together again. But this was, a very important piece of the slot machine 30 years ago, and you don't see them anymore. I think there's one or two casinos in Vegas that still let you use some tokens. I don't think they let you use coins. You have to buy the tokens, and but otherwise, you're not going to find these because they don't exist anymore. They don't need them. You know, I'm sure if you open up a triple double diamond today at a casino, that's not even in there because everything is done by credit and Tito and bills. You know, they just don't take coins. And I mean, let's face it, it's much better for the casino because they're not having to handle dirty coins and count dirty coins and refill. You know, they had to refill these. They had to go around several times a night if it was a popular machine and refill these with coins because once say a jackpot was paid out, or not a jackpot, but let's say there's 400 coins or whatever, they had to go back and refill the machines. So interesting, you know, the technology back then. This was, you know, state of the art technology, obviously not used today, and the coin tray that's underneath the old slot machines you see today is just for show. It doesn't do anything. It's taking up space so that there's not a hole in the machine. But my guess is if you open them up, you wouldn't find one of these inside anymore. Maybe you do. Maybe it's just because once you take it out of the system, it kind of screws up the computer. And so maybe they are just sitting in there, but they're not doing anything. So, hey, I just thought I'd show that to you. This stuff is fascinating to me. I watch YouTube videos, you know, how to fix things. I fix these machines that I have. And I'll give you a tour here one of these days of all the ones that I've got. I got 5 of them now, and I may have another one I'll be picking up tomorrow. So, but they're all 4 of them are IGTS machines, and the fifth one is an S2000 that I got from the slot machine store in Tucson, Arizona. So love playing them. You know, it kind of takes the edge off when you haven't been to the casino for a while. You can play your own machines. And one of these days I'll sell a couple of them. I just haven't decided which ones. So, hey, I hope you have a good morning, and I'll see you later.